This is my first NATO meeting and I look very much forward to it. NATO is a very strong cornerstone of transatlantic security. Estonia is also a very strong supporter of NATO and very active ally in NATO. Estonia always keep our promises. For example, this year our defense expenditure is more than 2%. Our level is this year 2.17. I am confident that under constructive leadership of President Trump, NATO continue to play a key role in transatlantic security and defense. Thank you.
C'est un moment important pour la Belgique, c'est un moment important pour l'OTAN. C'est l'occasion d'être rassemblés, des chefs d'État et de gouvernement qui veulent défendre les valeurs du monde libre, la liberté, l'état de droit, la démocratie, toutes ces valeurs fondamentales, défendre la paix, défendre la sécurité. Et je forme le vœu que cette rencontre soit utile pour défendre ces valeurs importantes. Merci.
Bună ziua!
Domnule președinte, puteți să ne spuneți care sunt prioritățile României pe care le veți susține în fața celorlalți lideri?
Sigur, cu mare plăcere. Astăzi avem un summit puțin atipic, dar totuși este important și de data aceasta să știm ce vrem și unde vrem să ajungem. Și sunt câteva priorități sau obiective care cred că sunt comune pentru toată lumea și sunt unele foarte specifice pentru noi. Este probabil un lucru general acceptat că ne dorim o alianță puternică, unită, coezivă, care merge înainte. Vrem o întărire a relației transatlantice, relația între SUA și Europa trebuie să fie o relație foarte, foarte puternică. Dacă ne apropiem un pic de zona noastră, de regiunea noastră, atunci este clar că noi ne dorim un flanc estic bine consolidat. Dorim însă ca acest flanc estic să fie consolidat într-un mod echilibrat. Și acest lucru l-am detaliat și altă dată, l-am prezentat și în summitul de la Varșovia și constat cu mare bucurie că ideea a fost preluată la modul general și se lucrează la un concept care va duce la o abordare echilibrată pe flancul estic. Foarte important pentru noi este sigur ca Marea Neagră și zona Mării Negre să rămână în centrul atenției și sigur dacă vorbim de flancul estic, este clar că trebuie să vorbim și despre Rusia și aici lucrurile sunt foarte clare. Noi ne dorim să avem o abordare unitară, nu împotriva Rusiei, nu pentru Rusia, ci o abordare unitară când vine vorba despre Rusia. În rest, sunt foarte multe programe în derulare, sunt foarte multe exerciții și ne dorim ca ele să fie de o amploare corespunzătoare pentru a avea această prezență asigurată.
Domnule președinte, legat de ceea ce spuneați mai devreme, în ce măsură această schimbare de orientare despre care se vorbește alianței către coaliția internațională, către lupta împotriva terorismului, ar putea avea consecințe către politica de deterrence pe flancul de est și dacă veți discuta și cu președintele polonez despre aceste eventuale consecințe?
Eu cred că este o abordare bună aceasta să ne focusăm un pic mai mult pe combaterea terorismului și nu cred că va trage resurse din alte programe. Lucrurile sunt complementare și ultima etapă la care s-a ajuns după negocieri pe cum să se poziționeze NATO față de terorism arată că este o abordare pe care toată lumea și-o dorește, iar finanțarea va veni pe proiecte concrete și discutat pe fiecare proiect în parte. De aceea spun, după părerea mea, abordările sunt complementare și este chiar posibil câteodată să se întărească aceste componente reciproc. Mulțumesc!
to bo ena treh osrednjih tem danes tukaj na vrhu NATO. Slovenija je s približno odstotkom BDP za obrambo med najslabšimi zaveznicami. Do leta 2025 naj bi se približala 1,2 odstotkoma, medtem ko je cilj 2 odstotka. Kakšno bi vaše sporočilo danes v zvezi s tem?
Najprej bi rekel, da današnji vrh NATO bo potekal v luči varnostnih vprašanj in izzivov, predvsem boja proti terorizmu. V tej priliki seveda se moram še enkrat spomniti na nedavni teroristični napad v Manchesteru in bi želel še enkrat izreči sožalje vsem državljanom Združenega kraljestva in tudi naša solidarnost z njimi ob tem res tragičnem, grozljivem dogodku. Veseli me ravno v tej priliki vrha NATO, da je Zveza NATO sprejela odločitev za vstop v članstvo v globalni koaliciji zoper Daesh. Mislim, da bo to zelo pripomoglo k našemu skupnemu prizadevanju proti terorizmu. Slovenija mora posodobiti svoje obrambne sile. Vlada, ki jo vodim, kot veste, je ustavila po kar nekaj letih trend padanja izdatkov za vojsko. Mi smo ta trend zdaj celo spreobrnili, torej prispevamo zdaj že vsako leto več denarja za vojsko in s tem seveda krepimo možnosti za investicije, vojaške sposobnosti, predvsem v modernizacijo vojske. Nujno je in za tem stojim kot predsednik vlade, da našo vojsko posodobimo, da bomo imeli kvalitetne obrambne sile, kajti Slovenija jih potrebuje, zato zvišujemo sredstva, zato moderniziramo vojsko in predvsem tudi moramo izboljšati, bi rekel, sam status oseb, ki dela, torej vojakov in drugih. Kar zadeva našega prispevka v NATO. Res je, da glede finančnega prispevka nismo med najbolj uspešnimi, seveda tu smo okoli 1%, pa vendar, kot sem rekel, sredstva zdaj naraščajo, kar je pa še bolj pomembno. Slovenija je zelo priznana v okviru NATO, ravno potem, da je vedno zelo opažena kot, bi rekel, država, ki prispeva svoje vojake v misije in skupne akcije. In tukaj smo zelo uspešni, se dobro odlikujemo, tako da na teh področjih in pri drugih oblikah sodelovanja se zelo odlikujemo in s tem seveda kompenziramo tisti del, ki je v finančnem pogledu še nekoliko premanjkal.
Načrtujete ob robu kakšne dvostranske pogovore z ameriškim predsednikom oziroma njegovo soprogo, vi ali vaša partnerica, ki se udeležuje programa za partnerje in partnerice?
Torej, sam bom zanesljivo tukaj, tako kot sem na zadnjem vrhu NATO, srečal vse te voditelje, z vsakim se bom verjetno nekaj pogovoril. Koliko bo časa za te pogovore, bomo videli. Vsekakor nameravam ta srečanja izkoristiti za kakšne tvorne razgovore. Moja partnerka ta hip že preživlja v družbi nekaterih partnerjev, premijerjev in predsednikov držav, tudi gospe Melanie Trump. Zagotovo so se že kaj pogovorili. Je pa bistveno to, da seveda Slovenija da neko močno sporočilo danes na tem zasedanju, da smo zavezani NATO, da smo čvrst zaveznik, da moderniziramo svoje obrambne sile. Tudi želim poudariti, da me zelo veseli, da danes za skupno mizo že sedijo tudi predstavniki Črne Gore, kajti izpolnjeni so vsi pogoji za vstop Črne Gore v NATO. In veseli me to posebej še v luči tega, ker je Slovenija zelo veliko neposredno pripomogla k temu članstvu Črne Gore v NATO in menim, da to je en dodaten prispevek k varnosti na Balkanu. In seveda z tega vidika bo Slovenija tudi ostala aktivna država v tem smislu, da pozorno spremljamo dogajanja v tej širši regiji. In kot rečeno, da smo seveda del vseh teh koalicij v boju zoper terorizem in da pomagamo pač tistim, ki se prizadevajo za demokratične vrednote in solidarnost. Toliko, hvala lepa.
Guten Tag. Ich freue mich, dass wir heute das neue NATO-Hauptquartier eröffnen können und ein Stück der Berliner Mauer wird auch an die Zeit des Kalten Krieges erinnern. Und das heißt, wir haben es auch mit Hilfe der NATO geschafft, diesen Kalten Krieg zu überwinden und Freiheit und Demokratie weiter durchzusetzen. Wir werden heute ja das neue NATO-Mitglied Montenegro begrüßen Und ich freue mich, dass alle Mitgliedstaaten der NATO noch einmal bekräftigen, dass die NATO der zentrale Pfeiler unserer gemeinsamen Sicherheit ist, dass wir uns in Solidarität verbunden fühlen für unsere gemeinsame Sicherheit. Und Deutschland leistet dazu ja auch seine Beiträge, sei es durch die Luftüberwachung in den baltischen Staaten, sei es durch unseren Einsatz in Afghanistan oder auch durch unseren Beitrag im Kampf gegen den IS. Die NATO wird formal jetzt, nachdem alle Mitgliedstaaten in der Koalition gegen den IS vertreten sind und die EU auch, jetzt auch dieser Allianz beitreten. Und ich glaube, das ist ein starkes Zeichen, wobei klar ist, dass damit keine neuen Beiträge Deutschlands verbunden sind über das hinaus, was wir bisher tun. Wir werden hier auch noch einmal die Beschlüsse von Wales bestätigen. Bestätigen heißt nicht mehr und nicht weniger. Und ich freue mich, dass der NATO-Generalsekretär auch im Blick auf Deutschland gesagt hat, dass es gut ist, dass wir in der Großen Koalition unseren Verteidigungsetat erhöht haben und dass damit auch eine bessere Absicherung unserer Beiträge für die NATO natürlich möglich ist. Wir freuen uns auch, dass in Zukunft nicht nur gefragt wird, wie viel wird für Verteidigung ausgegeben, sondern auch, was stellt man als Land der NATO zur Verfügung, welche Fähigkeiten haben wir und welche Beiträge leisten wir. Und ich glaube, hier kann sich Deutschland sehen lassen und das werde ich hier auch deutlich machen.
Können Sie noch was zu Incirlik sagen, zum Beispiel Herrn Erdogan?
Ja, ich werde sehr deutlich machen im Gespräch mit dem türkischen Präsidenten, dass es für uns unabdingbar ist, weil wir eine Parlamentsarmee haben, dass unsere Soldaten besucht werden können durch die Mitglieder des Deutschen Bundestages. Ansonsten müssen wir Incirlik verlassen und das ist sozusagen konstitutiv für das Tätigsein der Bundeswehr. Dankeschön.
Nu jā, šodien NATO valstu vadītāju sanāksme Briselē ļoti nozīmīga Latvijai, jo, manuprāt, 3 būtisku aspektu dēļ. Pirmām kārtām mēs gaidām vēlreiz apliecinājumu tam, ka NATO ir un paliek nozīmīgākā organizācija pasaulē, kas garantē drošību ne tikai Eiropā, bet arī daudz kur citur. Un, protams, ka paliek spēkā visi tie lēmumi, kas ir pieņemti jau NATO, jo īpaši attiecībā uz mūsu reģiona drošības stiprināšanu. Kāpēc tas ir svarīgi? Tāpēc, ka tomēr virknē valstu ir mainījušies valstu vadītāji, un tāpēc mums, protams, vēlreiz jāgūst šis apliecinājums, ka nekas nemainās. Otram kārtām es gribētu teikt, ka, protams, jautājums par aizsardzības izdevumu palielināšanu ir ļoti būtisks, un tāpēc es ceru, ka valstis pārstiprinās šo apņemšanos palielināt aizsardzības izdevumus, un Latvija varbūt ir tāda jau pozitīva valsts, jo mēs jau pēc 6 mēnešiem sasniegsim 2% no mūsu iekšzemes koprodukta, tādējādi mēs pilnībā nodrošināsim NATO minimālo prasību izpildi, jo NATO ietvaros jau tomēr ir jāturpina darbs pie kopējo aizsardzības spēju stiprināšanas, piemēram, kiberaizsardzība, strateģiskā komunicēšana. Un, protams, trešais būtiskais ir, ka mēs esam gan paši gatavi, gan arī uzskatām, ka ir ļoti būtiski palielināt NATO iesaisti cīņā pret starptautisko terorismu. Un, protams, Latvija jau to dara, piedaloties pretterorisma un stabilizācijas operācijās gan Afganistānā, gan Irākā, gan Malī. Mēs atbalstam atmīnēšanas darbus Sīrijā, tā kā mēs esam gatavi turpināt šo cīņu pret starptautisko terorismu.
Vai par aizsardzības izdevumiem ir gaidāmā atklāta un skarba saruna ar jauno ASV prezidentu Donaldu Trumpu?
Nu, tad jau redzēs. Kā jau es teicu, Latvija varbūt ir tas pozitīvais piemērs kopā ar lietuviešiem, kas arī nākamā gadā sasniegt 2% no iekšzemes koprodukta. Tā kā es domāju, mums tā saruna būs nedaudz vieglāka. Paldies.
Kādus apliecinājumus mēs gaidām no Donalda Trumpa?
Es domāju, mēs visi kopā gaidām apliecinājumus, ka NATO, kā starptautiskā militāra organizācija, kas ir spēcīgākā militāra alianse pasaulē, turpinās tās apņemšanās, ko NATO ir nolēmusi, un tātad arī palīdzēs mums nodrošināt drošību reģionā. Paldies!
Paldies!
sige, lige så rigtigt det er, at Danmark ikke er 2%, lige så rigtigt er det at måle på den måde, at vi arbejder på om os vilje til at score noget flot. Vi har vedtaget Folketinget så sent som i den kommune og støttefunktioner, så det er den fremskudelse støttedærelse. Vi deltager
Bueno, como saben, asistimos a la reunión de la OTAN. Esta es una reunión extraordinaria. Habitualmente esta se produce cada 2 años, pero también hay una cierta tradición de que cuando se produce un cambio en la presidencia de Estados Unidos tiene lugar una reunión. Hoy tiene una parte formal de inauguración de las nuevas instalaciones de la OTAN y luego tiene una parte de trabajo donde fundamentalmente vamos a tratar los temas del terrorismo y la aportación de los distintos países a los presupuestos de la OTAN y a las operaciones. Bueno, como saben, España dedica en estos momentos cerca del 1% de su PIB a labores de defensa, pero España tiene una participación importante en misiones militares. Somos el segundo país de la Unión Europea en operaciones de la OTAN, de la Unión Europea, de las propias Naciones Unidas o de la coalición contra el Daesh, y dedicamos una parte importante también a actividades de I+D. Por otra parte, nosotros vamos a seguir apoyando que la OTAN siga cumpliendo las funciones que tiene y que se involucre en la lucha contra el terrorismo, que hoy se ha convertido, como desgraciadamente todos conocemos y hemos visto lo que ha ocurrido en Manchester hace muy poquitas fechas, en uno de los problemas más importantes que tienen los europeos. Por tanto, creo que estemos todos ahí trabajando conjuntamente en defensa de nuestras libertades y nuestros derechos, pues es algo muy positivo para los intereses de todos.
Señor presidente, no sé si ha tenido oportunidad ya de hablar con el nuevo secretario general del PSOE, con el señor Sánchez, para abordar quizá entre otros temas con asuntos de Estado como este compromiso del 2% de inversión en defensa, 2% del PIB al que se ha comprometido España con los aliados, o el desafío que ha lanzado el gobierno de la Generalitat.
No, espero tener la posibilidad de hablar. No lo he hecho de momento, pero sin duda alguna hay algunos temas en los que sería fundamental el concurso de los 2 grandes partidos españoles. Usted se ha referido a 2 temas, uno de ellos es el de defensa. Nosotros todas las operaciones militares en las que estamos participando lo hacemos con el consentimiento del Parlamento. También es muy importante que en el desafío independentista que algunos han planteado en Cataluña, el PSOE, el Partido Popular y el mayor número posible de fuerzas políticas pues estén donde está el sentido común y la mayoría de los españoles, que es en la defensa de la unidad nacional, la soberanía nacional y las leyes y la Constitución. Por fortuna somos una democracia y somos un país civilizado, y ningún dirigente, por mucho que se lo crea, puede estar por encima de la ley y saltarse lo que son decisiones que le corresponde tomar al conjunto de los españoles. Por tanto, yo espero que en estos temas, también en política exterior, como ocurrido en las últimas fechas, también hemos acordado algunas otras, podamos hacerlo en el futuro. Esa desde luego es mi voluntad, lo fue desde los resultados de las elecciones en el año 2015, pero hay cosas que no dependen solo de mí. En cualquier caso, yo como presidente del gobierno asumiré, entendiéndome o no, mis propias responsabilidades, pero creo que sería bueno, en fin, actuar con sentido común.
Después de la carta de contestación al señor Puigdemont, ¿puede garantizar que no habrá en esta ocasión urnas como hubo el 9N en Cataluña, y está dispuesta a utilizar el artículo 155 de la Constitución?
Yo no voy a adelantar acontecimientos ni quiero anunciar problemas que a nadie le gusten. Yo lo que sí puedo decirle a los españoles es que nadie va a liquidar de manera unilateral la Constitución española, la unidad nacional y la soberanía nacional. Eso es, entre otras cosas, mi obligación, aparte de que yo lo piense como presidente del gobierno. Claro, lo que se nos está planteando, no a mí, sino lo que se nos está planteando a todo lo que es el Parlamento Nacional y a todos los españoles, es que hay quien ha decidido hacer un referéndum sobre la independencia de Cataluña. Y si no se aceptan sus pretensiones, pues nos sacarán la ley que hemos visto publicada en un diario nacional el pasado lunes, y una ley que además se pretende aprobar en 24 horas, porque es lo que se le ha transmitido a los españoles, y es la modificación que se ha hecho en el Parlamento de Cataluña. Es decir, en el Parlamento de Cataluña se ha hecho una modificación para en un día, por tanto sin posibilidad alguna por parte de los que piensen distinto, hacer una Constitución, liquidar la unidad de un Estado y su soberanía nacional. Comprenderá usted que mal presidente del gobierno sería yo si permitiera eso, y tenga la total y absoluta certeza de que no lo voy a permitir, y que espero, en fin, que un poco de sentido común llegue a algunos sitios de donde nunca debió de haber salido.
Muchas gracias.
Muchísimas gracias.
Gracias. A ver. Vale, pues. Máš otázku, se dostane. Jo, a teď to tam první, jo. No. Ciao, chcę nie znam posłała. Třeba bojovat islámským státem, třeba zničit rozpočet armády, aby byla jako zavřená. Stali se to islam, nebo nás říkal, všichni s tím budeme totálně mrtví. Tak to. Jo.
Tak, i potem tej drugiej setki już nie dam, tą setkę włożyć, potem gdzieś przejść.
Deze is een kleine kant.
taken the people. Plus 10 people.
Hello.
Your Majesty, Heads of State and Government, dear friends, welcome to Brussels to all of you. We will begin our meeting with the dedication of two memorials. Our gathering today is an opportunity to chart our shared future and to remember our shared past. The Berlin Wall is a symbol of that past. It was built to divide Europe, to keep people in and ideas out. In face of division, NATO allies stood united in defense of freedom, democracy, and human dignity. In 1989, the wall was brought down by peaceful protests, by popular movements such as Solidarność, and by the bravery of countless men and women across Central and Eastern Europe. Each day, all those who will enter this building will pass this memorial. They will understand that freedom will never be defeated, and that NATO will always defend the values on which our alliance is founded. So, Chancellor Merkel, you were in Berlin the very night when the wall came down. And therefore, it's a great honor to welcome you here to Brussels, to the new NATO headquarters. And the floor is yours, please.
Eure Majestät, sehr geehrter Herr Generalsekretär, sehr geehrte Kolleginnen und Kollegen. Das neue Hauptquartier wird zukünftig der zentrale Bezugspunkt der NATO sein. Ein moderner Bau wie dieser weist in die Zukunft. Um aber überzeugende Antworten für die Zukunft zu finden, ist es gut zu wissen, was wir in der Vergangenheit erreicht haben und worauf wir aufbauen können. Mit diesem Stück Berliner Mauer haben wir die Geschichte vor Augen, die die NATO während des Kalten Krieges über viele Jahrzehnte geprägt hat. Mit diesem Stück Mauer haben wir aber auch etwas vor Augen, was mein Leben viele Jahre bestimmt hat. Es endete nämlich auf der östlichen Seite der Mauer. Und es hat sich gezeigt, dass Standfestigkeit auf der einen Seite, ganz besonders auch durch die NATO, und Mut unserer Freunde in Mittel- und Osteuropa und der damaligen DDR dazu geführt haben, dass es diese Mauer heute nicht mehr gibt und dass sie ein Erinnerungsstück ist. Unsere Allianz ist sich einig in dem Bewusstsein der Zusammenarbeit, des Bestehens auf Freiheit und des Vertrauens darauf, dass nicht Abschottung und nicht Mauern erfolgreich sind, sondern offene Gesellschaften, die auf gemeinsamen Werten aufgebaut sind. Meine Damen und Herren, mit dem Ende des Ost-West-Konflikts begann eine neue Zeit mit neuen Herausforderungen. Geblieben ist, dass wir eine Allianz sind, die auf gemeinsame Werte aufbaut, die solidarisch zueinander ist. Und Deutschland wird nicht vergessen, welchen Beitrag die NATO dazu geleistet hat, dass unser Land wieder vereint ist. Und deshalb werden wir unseren Beitrag zur Sicherheit und zur Solidarität im gemeinsamen Bündnis auch leisten.
NATO's greatest strength is the enduring bond between North America and Europe. We saw the strength of that bond after the 9/11 attacks against the United States. And President Trump, those attacks struck at the heart of your own hometown in New York. And for the first time, NATO invoked our collective defense clause, Article 5. One for all and all for one. Hundreds of thousands of European and Canadian soldiers have served shoulder to shoulder with US troops in Afghanistan for over a decade to help ensure it never again becomes a safe haven for international terrorists. It is our solidarity that keeps our nations safe. And when our open and free societies come under attack, we stand up for our values and our way of life. That is why a strong NATO is good for Europe and good for North America. The 9/11 and Article 5 memorial will be a daily reminder of our vital bond. And today we will commit to do more in our common struggle against terrorism. So, Mr. President, it is a great honor to have you here and a great honor to give you the floor. Please.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Secretary General Stoltenberg, Chancellor Merkel. Thank you very much. Other heads of state and government, I am honored to be here with members of an alliance that has promoted safety and peace across the world. Prime Minister May, all of the nations here today grieve with you and stand with you. I would like to ask that we now observe a moment of silence for the victims and families of the savage attack which took place in Manchester. Thank you. Terrible thing. This ceremony is a day for both remembrance and resolve. We remember and mourn those nearly 3,000 innocent people who were brutally murdered by terrorists on September 11th, 2001. Our NATO allies responded swiftly and decisively, invoking for the first time in its history the Article 5 collective defense commitments. The recent attack on Manchester in the United Kingdom demonstrates the depths of the evil we face with terrorism. Innocent little girls and so many others were horribly murdered and badly injured while attending a concert, beautiful lives with so much great potential, torn from their families forever and ever. It was a barbaric and vicious attack upon our civilization. All people who cherish life must unite in finding, exposing, and removing these killers and extremists. And yes, losers. They are losers. Wherever they exist in our societies, we must drive them out and never, ever let them back in. This call for driving out terrorism is a message I took to a historic gathering of Arab and Muslim leaders across the region, hosted by Saudi Arabia. There I spent much time with King Solomon, a wise man who wants to see things get much better rapidly. The leaders of the Middle East have agreed at this unprecedented meeting to stop funding the radical ideology that leads to this horrible terrorism all over the globe. My travels and meetings have given me renewed hope that nations of many faiths can unite to defeat terrorism, a common threat to all of humanity. Terrorism must be stopped in its tracks, or the horror you saw in Manchester and so many other places will continue forever. You have thousands and thousands of people pouring into our various countries and spreading throughout, and in many cases we have no idea who they are. We must be tough, we must be strong, and we must be vigilant. The NATO of the future must include a great focus on terrorism and immigration, as well as threats from Russia and on NATO's eastern and southern borders. These grave security concerns are the same reason that I have been very, very direct with Secretary Stoltenberg and members of the alliance in saying that NATO members must finally contribute their fair share and meet their financial obligations. But 23 of the 28 member nations are still not paying what they should be paying and what they are supposed to be paying for their defense. This is not fair to the people and taxpayers of the United States. And many of these nations owe massive amounts of money from past years and not paying in those past years. Over the last 8 years, the United States spent more on defense than all other NATO countries combined. If all NATO members had spent just 2% of their GDP on defense last year, we would have had another $119 billion for our collective defense and for the financing of additional NATO reserves. We should recognize that with these chronic underpayments and growing threats, even 2% of GDP is insufficient to close the gaps in modernizing, readiness, and the size of forces. We have to make up for the many years lost. 2% is the bare minimum for confronting today's very real and very vicious threats. If NATO countries made their full and complete contributions, then NATO would be even stronger than it is today, especially from the threat of terrorism. I want to extend my appreciation to the 9/11 Memorial and Museum in New York for contributing this remnant of the North Tower, as well as to Chancellor Merkel and the German people for donating this portion of the Berlin Wall. It is truly fitting that these two artifacts now reside here so close together at the new NATO headquarters. And I never asked once what the new NATO headquarters cost. I refuse to do that. But it is beautiful. Each one marks a pivotal event in the history of this alliance and in the eternal battle between good and evil. On one side, a testament to the triumph of our ideals over a totalitarian communist ideology bent on the oppression of millions and millions of people. On the other, a painful reminder of the barbaric evil that still exists in the world and that we must confront and defeat together as a group, as a world. This twisted mass of metal reminds us not only of what we have lost, but also what forever endures, the courage of our people, the strength of our resolve, and the commitments that bind us together as one. We will never forget the lives that were lost. We will never forsake the friends who stood by our side. And we will never waver in our determination to defeat terrorism and to achieve lasting security, prosperity, and peace. Thank you very much. It's a great honor to be here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the arrival of His Majesty, the King of the Belgians and the Secretary General of NATO. Military personnel are kindly requested to salute during the playing of Au Chant and the national anthem of the Kingdom of Belgium. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Votre Majesté, Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, la cérémonie va commencer. Les porte-drapeaux des 28 pays de l'Alliance vont prendre place au pied des mâts. His Excellency, Mr. Charles Michel, Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Belgium, and the Secretary General will now deliver their remarks.
Your Majesty, dear Secretary General, dear colleagues, men and women of the armed forces, welcome. Belgium welcomes you at this beautiful site at the heart of our country. A new home that confirms resolve and determination, because we know that action and symbols are important in today's world. Now, more than ever, after the loss of so many lives in Manchester, we need to stay ahead of a threat that kills a girl of 8 years old at a concert hall. Our presence today expresses unity in times of uncertainty. After the attack in the United Kingdom, we are all wounded deeply, but we see strong commitment, not only in words, but also in deeds. We all agree that we must continue to change in order to keep our people safe. Our citizens need security, security first. But we can only succeed if we work together. Today, 29 leaders of the free world reaffirm their wish to strive for peace and stability. And it is our responsibility to uphold this promise. A stronger European Union makes NATO stronger, and a stronger NATO makes the US and Canada safer too. We are all in this together. Security today requires much more than the traditional military tools. Civilian and military operations go hand in hand, so we need soft and hard power. Just as the US stood with Europe once, Europe stood with the US. The only time that NATO invoked the collective defense was after 9/11. This was more than just a symbol. Thousands of NATO soldiers have served in Afghanistan, and many men and women have paid the ultimate price. Today, we will address transatlantic solidarity and the fight against terrorism. Ladies and gentlemen, our alliance has been solid for almost 70 years, and these new headquarters are the symbol we need, because I believe NATO can and will continue to make a difference. This is not some naive wish, but the reality we all live in. By opening this new site, we renew our pledge, and my country, Belgium, is very proud of this great new home. The building is designed to resemble interlocking fingers, another symbol of our common goals since World War II. When we started building, we found explosives buried deep into the soil. This site was bombed 7 decades ago by English and German troops, and now it stands for common goals and cooperation. Congratulations to to all who made this headquarters possible. Ladies and gentlemen, let's show people around the world that by joining hands we provide safety and freedom. We believe in this because the values of NATO, our common values, are not obsolete. Freedom, peace, security, human rights, democracy, the rule of law will always prevail. This is at the heart of our mission. A special word of thanks to the men and women of the armed forces who put their lives at risk for a higher cause. Your bravery and courage is an example to us all. On behalf of you, it is my privilege to hand over this headquarters to NATO. May this home be a home to us all. I thank you.
Merci, Monsieur le Premier ministre. Et merci, la Belgique. Your Majesty, heads of state and government, ladies and gentlemen, NATO is the most successful alliance in history because of the remarkable bravery of the men and women of our armed forces, and because we stand united, and because we change when the world changes. The handover of our new headquarters marks the beginning of a new chapter. And I want to thank our host nation, Belgium, the thousands of people from across the lines who have contributed to this project, and those who are working to ensure a smooth transition already underway from our old home across the road. This headquarters will be an emblem of a strong, adaptable alliance. It will provide state-of-the-art facilities. It is a greener building, helping us to work in new ways. This is a 21st century headquarters for a 21st century alliance. NATO was founded almost 70 years ago to keep our nations safe during the Cold War. But we have constantly adapted as security challenges have evolved. When the Berlin Wall came down, the world changed. And this alliance changed too. Former adversaries became partners and then allies. And for the first time, we went beyond our own borders to help end ethnic wars in the Western Balkans. Then terrorists struck on 9/11, and the world changed again, and so did we. We launched our biggest combat operation ever to fight terrorism in Afghanistan. In 2014, we saw the rise of a new barbaric breed of terrorism, and the international-based, rules-based order was violated when the borders were changed by military force in Ukraine. Once again, NATO responded with the largest reinforcement of our collective defense in a generation. not because we seek to provoke conflict, but because we want to prevent conflict and to preserve the peace. That is why we also remain committed to dialogue. Meanwhile, we have stepped up our role in the fight against terrorism. We have been on the front line of that fight for many years, and we continue to help our partners in Afghanistan, Iraq, and elsewhere to build up their forces and stabilize their countries. As NATO has adapted to an uncertain world, there has always been one constant: our unity. Throughout our history, we have stood together. And the barbaric attack in Manchester shows how important it is that we continue to stand together in defense of our open societies. So today we will decide what more we should do to keep our allies safe in a more dangerous world. 28 allies, soon to be 29, as we prepare for Montenegro's accession as NATO's newest member. And it is therefore a great honor for me to welcome today Prime Minister Markovic of Montenegro to our Euro-Atlantic family. Dobro došla, Crna Gora. Welcome. NATO is more than a treaty, more than an organization. NATO embodies the unique bond between Europe and North America. And as we raise our flags today, at this defining moment for our security, our alliance stands strong, united, and resolute.
Votre Majesté, Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, je vous invite à vous tenir debout pour la levée des couleurs des 28 pays de l'Alliance. J'invite également le personnel militaire à faire un salut.
Flag raisers, attention! For the raising of the Allied flags, outer circle, right, turn! Take flag! Release flag!
The NATO flag will now be raised while the NATO hymn is played.
For the raising of the NATO flag, inner circle, right, turn, left, right, face, take flag, release flag. Flag up! Hands at ease.
There will now be a flypast of aircraft from Belgium, the United States, Italy, Germany, the United Kingdom, the Czech Republic, France, and the Netherlands, including F-16s, Gripens, Eurofighter Typhoons, A400Ms, Rafale, and an AWACS, and the flypast will end with Belgian-French Alpha jets. Mesdames et messieurs, à présent, vous allez entendre l'hymne national du Royaume de Belgique. Le personnel militaire est invité à faire un salut.
Salute!
Ladies and gentlemen, please, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, please remain in place for the departure of His Majesty the King of the Belgians. Military personnel are kindly requested to salute during the playing of Au Chant and the national anthem of the Kingdom of Belgium.
Salute!
This concludes the handover ceremony. Participants in the meeting at the level of heads of state and or government are invited to proceed to room 14 in the conference center. Thank you. And actually having the Belgian...
Historic moment. We face the most difficult security challenges for a generation. Terrorism and instability, a more assertive Russia, the proliferation of nuclear weapons, and the growing threat of cyber attacks. The bond between NATO allies has kept our people safe since the alliance was founded almost 70 years ago. We are here today to strengthen that bond. We will take decisions to share more fairly the burden of our security and to do more in the fight against terrorism. We are an alliance of democracies, nations from both sides of the Atlantic, with different history, different geography, different culture, and at times also different political perspectives. And yet we rise above those differences and unite around a common purpose. We protect each other, we stand together, we are NATO. I will now invite Prime Minister Charles Michel to say a few words. Belgium has generously hosted our alliance for 50 years and has provided invaluable support for this meeting. So thank you, Charles, and now you have the floor, please.
Thank you. Dear colleagues, this new building in the heart of Europe is a great achievement. Brussels and Belgium are the core of multilateralism, with more diplomats than anywhere else in the world. So I am proud to be here with you. Dear Angela, the unveiling of a segment of the Berlin Wall was a very powerful moment. I was 14 years old when the wall came down. I remember watching the news and realizing that this was a defining moment in history. I believe that these events have shaped the rest of Europe and marked many generations. I also want to express a word of thanks to the United States. We know your country suffered greatly on 9/11, so the landmark of the US will be a constant reminder to us all. Freedom over oppression, that is what the Berlin Wall shows us. Solidarity and freedom, that is what 9/11 has taught us. I know we all have the best interest of our alliance at heart. NATO needed this new home more than ever, not just to show that we are adapting to new times, but just so that many thousands of people can continue to cooperate daily. One last word for the Secretary General. Your faith and firm belief of NATO's values is key to the success of our alliance. Thank you for your commitment, Jens. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Charles. And that ends the public part of this meeting. So may I then ask the media to leave. Thank you for your cooperation. And then in a moment.
Get out of the way, lady. Get out of the way. Lady, get out of the way.
Good evening. Thank you for your patience.
Good evening. Thank you for
The
your
Secretary
patience.
General will
The Secretary
brief
General
you
will
on
brief you
the working
on,
session,
and then
the
he'll be
working
happy to take
session,
your questions.
and then he'll be happy to
Secretary
take your questions. Secretary General.
Good evening. It's good to see you.
Good evening.
At
It's
such
good
a
to see you
late
at
hour.
such a
We
late
have just concluded
hour.
a very
We have just concluded
good
a
meeting
very
of NATO's
good meeting of
heads of
NATO's
state and
government.
government.
We took
Government
decisions
important
on
decisions
burden sharing and stepping
on burden
up
sharing
the fight
and stepping up
against
the fight against terrorism.
Belgium handed over
to
NATO
NATO
our
our
new head, which NATO exists to defend. President Trump dedicated the 9/11 and Article 5 memorial, a powerful reminder of NATO solidarity and the importance of our common fight against terrorism. One of the main issues we discussed was the fight against terrorism. This fight requires a wide range of instruments. National law enforcement agencies, the coalition to defeat ISIS, the European Union, as well as allies individually, are all making invaluable contributions. Today, we agreed an action plan for NATO to step up its efforts in the fight against terrorism. We reviewed our training mission in Afghanistan, and we agreed that we will continue to sustain our mission. I welcome that several allies came forward today with new troop contributions. And on the basis of our review, we will take further decisions in the coming weeks. We also decided to expand our support to the global coalition to defeat ISIS. Our AWACS surveillance planes will help improve airspace management for the coalition, and several allies have committed air-to-air refueling capabilities for those AWACS. So we will share more information, there will be more flying hours, and we will also have air-to-air refueling. At the same time, we agreed that NATO will become a full member of the global coalition, in which all 28 allies already take part. Being in the coalition does not mean that NATO will engage in combat, but it does send a strong message of our commitment to the global fight against terrorism. And it will enable NATO to take part in political deliberations, including on the coordination of training and capacity building. We will continue our training for Iraqi forces. Iraqi troops trained by NATO to defuse improvised explosive devices are right now putting their skills to use in the battle for Mosul. We also decided to establish a terrorism intelligence cell within our new intelligence division. This will improve the sharing of information among allies, including on the threat of foreign fighters. Work is also underway to establish a hub for the South at our Joint Force Command in Naples. It will constantly monitor and assess regional threats, including terrorism. We are also looking into making greater use of NATO's Special Operation Headquarters, which already offers tailored counter-terrorism training for allies and partners. This could involve more mobile training teams deploying to countries at risk. So the alliance is doing a lot in the fight against terrorism. That is why I have decided to designate a senior NATO official as coordinator to ensure that our new action plan is implemented swiftly and effectively. To keep our nations safe in a more unpredictable world, we need to continue investing in our defense and to ensure fair burden sharing across the alliance. This was the other main theme we discussed. We have already made progress, with billions more invested in defense last year after a long period of decline. Today we decided to develop annual national plans setting out how allies intend to meet the defense investment pledge we made together in 2014. The national capabilities and the national plans will cover three major areas: cash, capabilities, and contributions. First, how nations intend to meet their commitments to spend 2% of GDP on defense, of which 20% should be invested in major equipment. Second, how to invest additional funding in key military capabilities that we need. And third, how allies intend to contribute to NATO missions, operations, and other engagements. I welcome that many allies set out tonight how they intend to meet these goals. The first set of reports on national plans will be completed by December this year and will be reviewed by defense ministers in February. The annual national plans will help us keep up the momentum to invest more and better in our defense so that all allies contribute their fair share to our common security. NATO's relationship with Russia was another topic of discussion. Today we reaffirmed our dual-track approach: strong defense combined with meaningful dialogue. And we are delivering on both tracks. Allies stand strong together, not to provoke a conflict, but to prevent conflict and to preserve peace. At the same time, we remain open to dialogue with Russia to increase transparency and reduce risks. We welcomed Prime Minister Markovic of Montenegro to our table today. Montenegro will become the 29th member of our family in just a few weeks. A clear sign that NATO's door remains open to nations which share our values and wish to contribute to the most successful alliance in history. Finally, we agreed that we will meet again in a NATO summit in 2018. The decisions we have taken today will make the alliance stronger and safer as we continue to adapt to new.
Okay, Wall Street Journal.
Mr. Stoltenberg, last July you said, after Donald Trump questioned Article 5, you said solidarity among allies is a key value for NATO, good for European security, good for U.S. security. We defend one another. Are you disappointed that Donald Trump did not explicitly affirm U.S. support for Article 5, did not say that there is an unwavering U.S. commitment to defend all allies no matter what?
President Donald Trump dedicated a 9/11 and Article 5 memorial. And just by doing that, he sent a strong signal. Second, he has strongly committed and strongly stated his commitment and the commitment of the United States to NATO, to our collective security, to our collective defense, and to the security guarantees. He has done so in meetings with me, but he also expressed, for instance, his commitment when we met in Washington some weeks ago. So we have had a clear message from the US administration, from the President, from the Vice President when he was in Brussels, from Secretary Tillerson, from Secretary Mattis, that the United States is committed to NATO, and it's not possible to be committed to NATO without being committed to Article 5 and our collective defense clause, because NATO is about collective defense and the security guarantees. But perhaps even more important than the words and the statements is what we see that is taking place on the ground. So the US commitment to our security guarantees, to Article 5, to collective defense, is not only in words but also in deeds. Just a few days ago, the Trump administration presented a budget proposal with 40% increase in funding for US military presence in Europe. And I think that's the strongest possible sign of commitment to our alliance and to NATO.
Okay. Reuters, first row.
Thanks, Secretary General. Even though you've said all that, there was some disappointment expressed by people who watch NATO closely and some of the allies. I mean, what would you say to people who feel that Trump is not clear on this issue?
Trump has been clear on his commitment to NATO, but President Trump has also been clear in the message to all allies that we have to deliver on the pledge we made to increase defense spending. He was blunt on that message today, and we have seen this plain speaking from President Trump also before. So he has a clear message on US commitment to the alliance, but he also has a very plain and clear message on the expectations when it comes to burden sharing, fair burden sharing in the alliance. It is absolutely possible to have an ambitious message on defense spending and at the same time have a positive message, because NATO is delivering. We still have a long way to go. Much remains, but it is extremely important that after years of decline in defense spending across Europe and Canada, we turned the corner in 2015, we stopped the cuts, and in 2016 we had significant increase. And the decisions we made today, especially on the national plans, are the best tools we have to make sure that we continue to deliver, that we keep up the momentum. So yes, the President was clear on his commitment, but also clear on his expectations when it comes to that we all carry a fair share of the burden.
Lady in the second row.
Ala Shali from Ruda Television from Kurdistan. My question is about how could NATO support more Peshmerga in the fighting against Daesh in north of Iraq? Thank you.
Several NATO allies are training, providing support to the Peshmerga. And of course, NATO being part of the coalition, we will also take part in the deliberations and the coordination of different activities providing support to the Peshmerga. NATO has not so far provided any training for the Peshmerga. What we have done is to be focused on training Iraqi government forces. It's too early to say whether that can be an issue. The important thing is, I think, for the Peshmerga is that several NATO allies, as part of the coalition efforts, which NATO now will become a member of, are providing training support for the Peshmerga.
Okay, we'll go to RIA Novosti, second row.
Vladimir Dobrovolsky, Russian agency RIA Novosti. Secretary General, don't you think that the higher military spending will lead to the new arms race, and how will you explain it to Russia? Thank you.
NATO, it's a defensive alliance. NATO does not seek confrontation with Russia. Actually, we recognize that Russia is our biggest neighbor. Russia is there to stay, and we are striving for a better and more constructive relationship with Russia. At the same time, NATO has to deliver credible deterrence and defense. Because by delivering credible deterrence and defense, we are preventing conflict, we are preventing war. That has been the key to the success of NATO since we were founded almost 70 years ago. And when we see that Russia is willing not only to invest heavily in defense, but to actually use military force to change borders in Europe, with its aggressive actions against Ukraine, illegally annexing Crimea, and continuing to undermine, to destabilize eastern Ukraine, then of course NATO has to react. No one was thinking about deploying 4 battle groups to the Baltic countries and Poland before Russia annexed Crimea and started to destabilize eastern Ukraine. So what NATO does is a measured, defensive, proportionate response to the actions of Russia. At the same time, we are working for dialogue After 2 years, so no meetings in the NATO-Russia Council, we were able to agree with Russia on how we could meet again. We have met in the NATO-Russia Council. We discussed difficult issues like Ukraine, but also transparency, risk reduction, our military posture, exercises. And the dialogue with Russia is sometimes difficult, but that's exactly why it is important. So we have responded in a measured and defensive way to make sure that we still convey a strong and clear message of deterrence to prevent conflict and preserve peace.
Afghan media, first row there, Mitra TV. Yep.
Mr. Secretary General, now that you are planning to send more troops to Afghanistan, NATO is planning to send more troops to Afghanistan, in the wake of growing unrest throughout the country and at the time that the Taliban are launching their spraying offensives, what sort of concrete results are you expecting in a year's time? And then my second question is the Afghan security forces. They have flaws at all levels, including senior leadership. So what sorts of conditions are you expecting or demanding from the Afghan government in return for their generous pledges? Thank you.
First of all, we haven't decided the exact troop levels for 2018. The current troop level is around 13,000 NATO troops in our train, assist and advise mission. All allies supported the sustainment of our rescue support mission in Afghanistan. Some allies also announced that they're willing to increase their force contributions. But the exact force or troop levels will be decided later on this year. What we are aiming at, and the purpose of our training mission in Afghanistan, is to strengthen the capabilities and the capacities of the Afghan National Security Forces to fight Taliban and to fight different terrorist groups in Afghanistan. And we are in particular working with the Afghan Special Operation Forces. We are helping them to develop their own air forces. They are key in the fight in Afghanistan. And we are also helping them to improve command and control. And one of the issues we are now looking into whether we can expand what we do in the different military academies. We have never said that it is an easy situation in Afghanistan. It's a difficult situation in Afghanistan. There will be more violence, more challenges, and still many unsolved problems in Afghanistan, including the issue of corruption. But we have made progress, especially in building a strong national Afghan army and security force, which has proven capable, professional, and able to take over responsibility for the security in Afghanistan without NATO forces conducting combat operations, but with our support.
Financial Times, second row.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary General. Was there any sense of unease in the room amongst leaders at the force of Donald Trump's rebuke to them over their defense expenditure, particularly after they had agreed that NATO, as NATO, would be joining the coalition against ISIS? Thank you.
Well, we have heard President Trump before being very blunt on the message about fair burden sharing. And I think all allies are aware of the importance of burden sharing in the alliance. And we have to remember that fair burden sharing was something we addressed at our summit in 2014. And several NATO allies also expressed that we have to invest in defense not just to please the United States, but we have to invest in European defense because it is in our own interest to do so. And therefore, we all welcome the fact that we are now moving in the right direction. The United States is committed to NATO, is committed to collective defense, and we see that not only in words but also in deeds. The US is now increasing its military presence in Europe with a new armored brigade, with more exercises, with more infrastructure, with more pre-positioned equipment and supplies. So we see it really on the ground in Europe, the commitment of the United States to NATO and to our collective defense. But at the same time, the United States, of course, expects that all allies contribute, and that's exactly what we decided in 2014, and we have started to move in the right direction.
And we'll go to the fourth row here. Yeah.
Thank you. President Trump, when addressing the burden sharing on the outside, he talked about the chronic underpayment from NATO member states, and he also said that many of these nations owe massive amounts of money from past years and not paying in those past years. Is that a reasonable claim for the other NATO members? Would that be payable bills in the future? And do you agree on this analysis about the due payments from the past?
What we are talking about is the implementation of the pledge we all made in 2014. And the language there is clear. We commit to stop the cuts, gradually increase, and then move towards spending 2% of GDP on defense. And I know that President Trump has been and still is very clear, blunt, and plain when he is conveying that message to European allies. That was what, and Canada, we saw that again today. But at the same time, I know that President Trump recognizes that European allies and Canada are really moving in the right direction. I remember he told the US Congress that the money is pouring in. So he is aware of that after years of decline, we are now starting to increase. We still have a long way to go. There is still a need to continue to increase defense spending. But that's exactly why we made the decisions we made today to develop a tool that helps us to deliver on the pledge we made, the national plans, which will provide more transparency, reports on how different allies are implementing not only the spending pledge, but also the pledge we made on capabilities and contributions to NATO operations and missions. So again, it is possible to have an ambitious message on defense spending, but at the same time, having a positive message on defense spending. And in one way, I think it's what should I say, not surprising that President Trump has a direct way to convey that message.
Gentleman in the front row.
Thank you very much. Voice of America, Russian Service. I have two questions about NATO and Russia in particular. What are the main concerns of NATO about Russia? And what was the, recently, Minister of Defense of Russia, Mr. Shoigu, explained Crimea as self-efficient defense and military region, which is capable to, reject any attack. What was the military response of NATO, or tactical, or something else, on this formation of militarization of Crimea? Because everybody is speaking of this. And second question, what was the new, if any, in this summit of your relations, NATO relations with Ukraine, and what will be in the future, what we can expect in the future? Thank you.
So first, we have seen a pattern over some time where Russia is more assertive, where Russia is willing to use military force to intimidate neighbors. We saw it in Georgia. We have seen it in Moldova. We have seen it in Ukraine with the illegal annexation of Crimea, but also with the continuous destabilization of eastern Ukraine. And we have seen a significant military buildup in Russia, and we have seen rhetoric, which is more, much stronger and more threatening than before. And NATO has responded, but we have responded in a balanced, proportionate way, because we don't want confrontation and a new Cold War, but we have to make sure that there is no misunderstanding on NATO's willingness and resolve to defend all allies, and that's the reason why we are deploying our battle groups to the eastern part of the alliance. We are also aware of the A2AD capabilities that Russia has deployed and developed. And we are taking that into account in our military planning, in the development of our military capabilities, to be able to continue to provide the necessary support and deterrence, which is core for the alliance. When it comes to Ukraine, it was clearly stated by many allies, and the whole alliance is behind the message that we are going to continue to strengthen our close partnership with Ukraine, to provide practical support, political support, and there was a strong support, of course, for all efforts to try to make sure that we are really able to implement the Minsk agreements, and especially allowing the international monitors to be able to do their job.
Okay, we'll go front row, Cala Europeană, yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Secretary General, today Mr. Trump met Donald Tusk, the President of European Council. After the meeting, Mr. Tusk said they don't share the same opinion on Russia, and my question is, after the meeting today with the NATO allies, do the allies share the same opinion on Russia today?
So I was not present in the meeting between President Trump and President Tusk, but I know what the NATO position is. And the NATO position is clear, and we have a united alliance behind it. And I think it's hard, in a way, the unity in NATO on our approach to Russia is actually stronger than I've seen for many, many years. Because especially at the Warsaw Summit, we were able to establish a common understanding and trust in our approach among all allies. So the support for our approach is stronger than I've seen for a long time. And the message is the same, that we need credible deterrence and dialogue. And that's exactly what we now are delivering on. We are delivering on credible deterrence with the strongest reinforcement of our collective defense since the end of the Cold War. At the same time, we're engaged in political dialogue with Russia. It's not easy, but it is important.
Washington Post at the back. Yeah.
Hi, Michael Birnbaum from the Washington Post. Thanks. Another question about Donald Trump and Article 5 commitments. You've been very clear, and his subordinates, Sean Spicer, his spokesman, after the speech today, was very clear that the United States is committed to collective defense. Why then, I mean, did Trump explain during the dinner, did he explain to you, do you have an explanation why he hasn't then explicitly endorsed it with words as opposed to actions? And is this just a negotiating tactic? Thank you.
As I said, he has many times clearly stated in meetings, conversations with me, that he and the United States is clearly committed to NATO, and it's no way possible to be committed to NATO without being committed to Article 5 and our collective defense clause, because NATO is about collective defense. I remember he also stated that publicly, for instance, when we met in Washington. Then he reaffirmed the U.S. commitment to the NATO alliance and to, as I say, our shared values. He also referred today to the commitments that binds us together, and the commitments that binds us together are collective defense and everything related to Article 5. And second, he inaugurated a 9/11 and Article 5 memorial. And thirdly, the U.S. is now delivering on more U.S. presence in Europe, which I think is the strongest expression of the U.S. commitment to NATO and to the collective defense clause.
Last question, Süddeutsche Zeitung, yeah. No.
Sorry. Hey, Bosler, Süddeutsche Zeitung. Secretary General, how do you explain the
obviously conflicting messages coming out of this meeting. On one hand, the decision of Wales was reconfirmed. On the other hand, President Trump clearly stated that 2% is actually not enough. And maybe an additional question to that, is, in your view, the fight against migration a core task of NATO, as President Trump actually said? Thank you.
When it comes to migration, that's not a core task of NATO, but it is an area where NATO also plays a role. Because we, for instance, help the European Union in the Aegean Sea. We have deployed naval ships in the Aegean Sea to help implement the Turkish-EU agreement. And we have helped them to stem the flow of illegal migration over the Aegean Sea, especially with German presence in that naval activity. We are also helping in the Central Mediterranean, the EU Operation Sophia with our maritime operation Sea Guardian. And we are also addressing some of the root causes for the migration and refugee crisis we see, because by working with partners in the wider Middle East region, in North Africa, in Middle East, but also in Afghanistan, we are helping to stabilize many of the countries where many of the refugees are and migrants are coming from. So yes, NATO has a role to play. There are many other organizations, nations that are playing perhaps a more important role, but we are helping, assisting, and playing our role in addressing the root causes. President Trump expressed that for him 2% is a minimum, and some allies are spending more than 2%. And this is part of the clear, blunt message from President Trump. At the same time, we all agree that the important thing now is to implement and to deliver and to make good on the promise we made in 2014, which is about stopping the cuts, gradual increase, and then moving towards spending 2% of GDP on defense. And as I've stated many times, we are moving on, we are moving forward because we have stopped the cuts, we have started to increase, and this year Romania announced that they will reach the 2% target. Next year Latvia and Lithuania have announced that they reached the 2% target. So total defense spending is increasing, and more countries are reaching the 2% guideline.
Thank you very much. This concludes this press conference. I wish you a good night. Thank you.
Thank you.